Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Tuesday edition of Video Clips. And just a couple of announcements, actually one today, and that is that summer semester starts in another week, I think. I can't believe how fast this year is going. Anyway, we're offering the Diet Lifestyle Intervention course, which is for health professionals, but lay people can take it. It's a great overview course that includes 15 modules that cover men's health, women's health, children's health, autoimmune diseases and cancer and gastrointestinal diseases and mental health and musculoskeletal health and so on. So it's an amazing course, and it's not homework heavy. So if you're looking for something that's not real intense this summer, this would be a great course to take. And then through the Nutrition Educator Program, which is our alternative to dietetics, we're offering nutrition and obesity, which I'm going to talk about obesity in just a minute here, and psychology. And just remember that tuition rates are going up June 1st, which is next week. So if you want to lock in the old tuition rate, this is the time to think about enrolling in professional development courses with us. So I'm, of course, available to speak with you about this. These are big decisions. I don't expect you to make them through email, so I'm willing to talk with you if you'd like. And you can send me an email at pampopper@msn.com if you're interested in talking about what you're going to do with yourself if you're not a healthcare professional, but you'd like to be one, or you are a healthcare professional and you're fleeing institutional health and wanting to do something on your own. Send me an email and we'll talk. Also, some of you have had conversations with me in the past and indicated interest. So we're down to the wire. It's the last week. You need to do something about this now if you intend to lock in your tuition rates. All right. So I said I wanted to talk about obesity, and I do. And so that's the topic for today. It's a big problem, by the way, and it's a largely preventable. It's responsible for almost increased risk of almost every disease, and it's largely preventable is the word I'm looking for. I want to talk specifically about obesity and cancer. Cancer is a largely preventable condition as well. The biggest risk factor, preventable risk factor for cancer in the United States is smoking. I think people know smoking is not good for you. The second most preventable risk factor is obesity, which is linked to an increased risk of cancer, faster disease progression, and worse outcomes if you do develop cancer. Now, there are multiple relationships between obesity and cancer. We know the mechanisms of action, in other words, and those include fat cells producing inflammatory cytokines, and we know inflammation is related to almost every health condition. Increased insulin levels, insulin-like growth factor levels, IGF-1, testosterone, hormones that are converted to estrogen in the bloodstream of females, all related to obesity. Weight gain is a risk factor for diabetes, and diabetics have a significantly higher risk of cancer. For example, you may not know this, but over 75% of pancreatic cancer patients, and this is a very difficult to treat cancer, it's often fatal, are diabetic or at high risk of developing it. And weight gain and its associated increased production of sex hormones like testosterone and estrogen, responsible for increased risk of prostate, breast, ovarian, and endometrial cancer. Well, we're learning about other mechanisms as well, and one is the conversation that goes on between your fat tissue and tumors once you start developing tumors. Now, as we get into this discussion, I want to just give you some basics here. First of all, autophagy is the process by which cells break down and destroy old, damaged, or abnormal proteins inside cells. It's a process that it's like house cleaning that maintains cellular integrity. The P62 gene is a multifunctional protein that is involved in cellular autophagy. And then obesity can interfere with the process of autophagy through multiple mechanisms. And so just kind of keep those in mind. So research group wanted to look specifically at this communication between fat tissue and tumor growth. And to do this, they used mice whose fat cells lacked this P62 gene that's involved in cellular autophagy. Now, these mice become obese and insulin resistant even when eating normal diets as a result of the P62 gene being disabled or non-existent. Now, when compared with control mice, P62 deficient mice grew more tumors and had higher rates of metastases. So when cellular autophagy is disabled, you get more cancer growth. Fat tissue in these mice had reduced activity of a metabolism regulating protein, and their fat cells metabolized fewer fatty acids. And what that meant is more nutrients to be available to feed cancer cells, which you'd rather starve cancer cells than feed them. The fat cells also produced more osteopontin, which is a protein that promotes tumor proliferation and invasion. Previous research has shown a connection between increased osteopontin expression and worse outcomes, for example, in prostate cancer patients. These are just some of the mechanisms explaining how being overweight increases cancer risk. And we could go through the same exercise for just about every other disease known to man, except for those that are perhaps genetic deformities at birth. As I reported previously, the population of overweight and obese people, which was high before COVID, blossomed to even further rates during the COVID debacle and government policies and that sort of thing. And as I've repeatedly stated for almost my entire career in healthcare, the issue with carrying extra weight is less about appearance and it's more about protecting your health. Carrying extra weight is a sign of poor health. There's no such thing as fit but fat. And I'm tired of being worried about being politically incorrect for saying it, because it does not help anybody to pander to people who have health issues and make them think that they shouldn't be concerned about it. Now, I think most people know this. I also think that most people who are overweight would like to not be. Resigning oneself to a life of ill health and carrying all this extra weight is usually because of previous failures to lose weight. But if you're overweight and efforts to lose weight have failed in the past, please don't stop trying. When people fail at stopping smoking, we don't conclude, well, some people just have to smoke. And in fact, we collectively seem to know that smoking is a big enough risk factor for health that we encourage people to keep trying to quit as many times as they need to until they finally succeed. So I constantly encourage people, listen, if you failed at weight loss, you're not alone, for one thing. And the other thing is, please don't stop trying, because that is just sort of like giving up on your health. Now, a couple of things I'll mention that might be helpful if you are struggling with this issue. In my experience working with overweight people, there are 4 or 5 things that I think people need to keep in mind if they're going to succeed at it. And the first thing is stop striving for perfection. And these 28 days and 30 days and eat perfectly, and then you'll see how great it works and you'll lose weight, you'll be motivated. This type of thing doesn't teach anybody how to function in real life, where you attend birthday parties and go on vacation and this sort of thing. People need to learn skills for how to eat like normal people, normal weight people eat. Another one is too much calorie restriction and being hungry. People try to live on fruits and vegetables have 100 calories a pound and fruit has 200 calories a pound. You don't have enough hours in the day to eat enough food, just fruits and vegetables, to try to maintain your weight. Not addressing some of the psychological reasons that people eat, and there are a lot of them. Not using choice architecture. In other words, people think that weight loss and other habits are all about willpower. Well, actually, really good, well-done studies, like best practices studies, have shown that willpower has nothing to do with changing habits, and particularly with weight loss. It really is about setting up your life so that you can succeed. And a good example is I'm filming this at my house. There's nothing bad to eat in my house. I mean, if I want something sweet, I've got fruit and dried dates and things like that, but I got to get in the car and go someplace to get something bad to eat. And that's enough of an obstacle to keep me from doing it. But if the only thing I had to do was walk into the kitchen to start eating chocolate, I think I'd probably do it pretty often, right? So these are just some of the things that I think stand in the way of people being successful. And last but not least is just not being prepared for the work that it takes to break bad habits. You know, if you've carried 25 or 50 or 100 extra pounds for a long time, you're not going to fix the things that led to that happening in a short period of time. So you have to roll up your sleeves and be prepared to go to work and learn some new things, learn new thinking patterns, new habits, organizing your time differently. And I think people aren't prepared for that. They sign up thinking, well, this time I'll just starve myself until I'm thin and then I'll stay that way somehow. And it just doesn't work. So the first message I want to give to all of you is don't give up, keep trying, take that weight off. It's not helpful to you, it's harmful. And the second thing is, if you're struggling with it, we have a great weight loss program that addresses some of these issues. We don't stress dietary perfection and starvation, I've always been big on choice architecture. I think the reason I'm successful at a lot of things is I just set up my life for it to happen, ranging from the way I manage my time and the appointment book that I use. And there are a lot of external factors I've arranged in my life that keep me on track for lots of things, including eating and running a business and all the other things I have to do. So we can teach you how to do this. So if you're frustrated about all of this, maybe this is a time to send me an email at pampopper@msn.com. Let's talk about what's going on in your life and figure out how to make things better and get that weight off and reduce your risk of cancer and diabetes and heart disease and everything else that can go wrong too. All right, that's all for today. As usual, pass this on to anybody who you think might enjoy watching it, and I'll be back to you tomorrow with more news on other channels. I think you know that. Have a great day.